kissed. Say you'll hold me forever, at least for tonight. It's been so long since I got so close to someone. I know this ain't love, but let me stay a while. And pull me closer tonight, keep holding my hand. I know this ain't love, but let me stay the night. I said let me stay a while. 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 I said let me stay a No, no, I don't need a degree to know this ain't love at first sight. 'Cause I know how this works, I got my ABCs right. Oh, so let's play pretend. Say you'll be the one for me. Say you'll be the one for me forever. I know this will end tonight, but you'll be the one for me. Say you'll be the one for me. It's been so long since I got so close to someone. I know this ain't love, but let me stay a while. And pull me closer tonight, keep holding my hand. I know this ain't love, but let me stay the night. I said let me stay a while. 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 I said let me was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one. And I can't wait to see you hindsight is fleeting when your heart's bleeding and all you can see is red. Till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said. I took the long road, thought I'd be better on my own. Sometimes what's right is wrong instead. 'Cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one. And I can't wait to see you again. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. 'Cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one. And I can't wait to see you
on my mind, succeeding with hope, and you were sure I couldn't agree that we were meant to be. But our love is what they talk about in movies. Our love is what they talk about.